Well, thank you so much, Naomi. I am Danica Davis. As many of you know, I am a recovering HR practitioner and a lifelong HR evangelist. At Merit HR, we spend our days helping organizations elevate their people and HR practices by placing talented HR professionals in interim, direct hire, or consulting opportunities. And we believe very firmly that the only way an organization can be successful is if its people are. Before we launch our program, a quick update. We are reinventing how search works in the agency world. We all know how difficult it is to justify an agency fee a couple of days after your new team member starts. So we've developed a retention-based search fee where our fee is divided in 12 parts as you evaluate the candidate over the course of the first year. If they leave at any time, the rest of the fee isn't due. So love to talk with any of you that are working on building out your HR team about that. It very much aligns our interests on finding a great candidate with yours on keeping a great candidate. So now for the main event. We're thrilled to be here with you today as we dive into the topic of our time, which is generative AI, a technology that has the potential to change just about everything. I heard somebody say the other day, it's like the invention of fire. I don't know if that's quite true, but I'm going to just repeat what was said to me. Those who aren't already experimenting with it are already behind. I hate to share that with us. And at our inaugural in-person Elevate HR conference forum in February, and then a follow-up webinar in March, today's speaker, Diana, who I've had the pleasure of learning from for more than a decade, was diving into just how groundbreaking these generative AI tools will be for all of us. At the request of attendees, we're doing an even deeper dive into prompt writing, which is the key to success in using this tool. And Diana Willis is the CEO and founder of the Pendolino Group, and she stands at the forefront of integrating generative AI into human resources and business strategy, which is what we're all here for. It's not just our strategy in HR. We are here to support a business or organization's strategy. Her expertise and leadership are shaping the future of how organizations leverage AI to enhance the people function and drive business success. She advocates for a balanced approach to AI and technology in HR and business strategy, ensuring technology complements the human aspect of your business and HR practices. Diana, turning our program over to you.
Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Danica. And similar to what Danica said, I've been learning from Danica for decades as well. And I think that really speaks to one of the things that is incredibly powerful about our HR community and the world of technology. My passion is how do we bring people together with technology and really use that as a way to enhance the work that we're doing, enhance the way that we work together, and be able to bring new ideas to the table. And so I'm really excited to be here. Danica and Naomi, welcome for the opportunity. And also everyone who had a chance to be together in person. And then our first session, as we were starting to look into generative AI and ChatGPT and how to utilize these tools. Thank you for the invitation to come back and to make this a very dynamic and hands-on deep dive into some advanced prompting pieces as well. I'm going to share my screen in just a moment. I have made the intentional decision to not have any presentation slides. I want this to be a very interactive, hands-on experience. So if you haven't already had the opportunity to open a browser window, go to ChatGPT, get your ChatGPT 4.0, which is a free version of ChatGPT 4, get that launched on your computer and on one of your screens. I highly encourage you to do that. I do want you to, what I'll say is play along. And so I'm going to be putting some prompts in here. We've got 3 topics of primary interest that have been expressed by the group in advance. Talent acquisition and recruiting. What are some of the things we can do? How can we leverage this tool to really help us be successful in that realm? Performance management. another spot that is highly involved and can sometimes be a rat's nest, so to speak, in the world of human resources and our businesses, but so incredibly important. And the way that ChatGTP can help us in terms of how we communicate, how we give feedback, how we shape our message as well. And then the third area will be in the area of compensation and benefit strategy. So hopefully one or all of those topics are of interest to you. I know we have some single HR practitioners, one HR shop type scenarios for your businesses. I know we also have some representatives here from much larger HR teams as well. And I know that we've got some consultants that are on the phone. And so my intention is that you'll walk away with some really practical nuggets that you'll be able to put into action right away. And I will also say I love working with teams. So if you have your team around or you're interested in me even spending a little bit of time with you to do a deep dive with your team and help you propagate this information, propagate this knowledge to your teams as well, I'm here and available to do that. Okay. As Naomi said, this is an interactive discussion. I do have some initial prompts I'm going to go through and just give some examples on things in those three primary areas. One of which is also demonstrating how can we create PowerPoint presentations, or certainly the content of PowerPoint presentations, directly utilizing ChatGPT. Is it even possible that I could say, create this for me and deliver it to me in PowerPoint format? And I'll give you a spoiler alert, yes. The answer is yes. So I'm going to give you an example on that as well. And then I'm also going to show you how to compare files. If we're doing a talent review, how can we actually take files and do comparisons? We dabbled in that a little bit in our previous session. So I'm going to show you how to tap into much of the power of ChatGPT. And then so one of the things that some of you may have heard me say before, and this is a new hire onto our team. If we think about it as a college grad that we're just bringing onto our team, I want you to put that persona on ChatGPT. And you now have at your fingertips access to one of the best new college grads that has come out of one of the best schools, with access to the universe of knowledge that is available to us. You now have that persona on your team. Okay, so keep that in mind as we're going through this. And again, if there's some specific areas that you want me to do a deep dive on and give some examples of as well, please drop it into the chat. As Naomi mentioned, we're going to be keeping an eye on that also. All right, so without any further ado, let's go ahead and we'll dive in. And I want to give you a couple of examples. Specifically, we're going to be looking in the world of talent and talent acquisition and recruiting to start with. So everybody should be able to see my screen now. I'll just get my little thing out of the way there. You should be able to see my screen now. I'm logged into ChatGPT. We can switch here between 4.0 and 4. 4.0, as I mentioned, that's the free version. Everyone has access to it right now. It is a way for you to experience the full power of ChatGPT 4. And so if, again, go ahead and get it fired up on your computer and you can play along with me. So our first area is the world of talent acquisition. And what do I mean by talent acquisition? It's everything from identifying candidates to being able to assess the candidates, interview them, and make those ultimate hiring decisions. But it all starts at the beginning with a job description. What is it that we need to create or that we're going after in terms of the talent? And some of you may have dabbled around in this a little bit. And I just want to give you an example as we're thinking about somebody that we may want to hire onto our team. And there are a number of ways that we can go about this and utilizing ChatGPT to help us out in this particular area. So for example, if I want to create a job description and I want a detailed description for a software engineer that's going to be joining our team, I need to tell ChatGPT a couple of things. What's the nature of our team? What stage of business are we in can actually be helpful to inform. What is this position? What are the specific requirements of this position? Are there some unique requirements? What level of experience am I looking for? So these are the kinds of things that we would typically ask ourselves as we're staring at the blank sheet of paper and writing a job description. So think about it as ChatGTP is going to very quickly move us from a blank sheet of paper to a start of a solution. And I'll emphasize start because, as Danica mentioned, I take a very balanced approach on this. These tools, generative AI, whether it's ChatGTP or it's Cloud AI or any other tool like these tools are really meant to be supporting characters in what we're creating. And so it's your experience, your wisdom, your knowledge that helps get us from what I'm going to term an 80% solution that comes through the tool to that final product that you want to put out there. Now, you may look at it and say, this is perfect. In fact, I don't need to do anything other than copy and paste it into a Word doc and away I go. That may be the case. But remember, I always kind of take that, I want to balance your experience and wisdom along with the solution. So you're probably dying to know, what is a great prompt to use if I want to create a job description? Remember, our persona is that this is a new college grad. This is someone who has come on board onto our HR team, and we want to have them do some work for us. So we need to give it some instructions. So very simply, let's just go ahead and say, create a job description. Actually, let me pause for a moment. Some of you who know me know that I also like to start setting up a bit of a relationship here. So I'm just going to go with, hi there. How are you this afternoon? Again, it helps me get into the mode of giving some information, of building a relationship, of creating a dialogue. Think of it as a dialogue. All right. So great. We've established this helps set the tone as well. So let's go ahead and do this. So I'm asking it to create a job description. And trust me, my typing will get much better as we move along. And ChatGTP actually has learned how to read through some of my spelling errors as well. So this is good. For a software engineer, we said we wanted to hire. Okay. And again, if you're on your page, on your web browser, please go ahead and use this, follow along, do it on yours as well, okay? In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna just put our company name here at our company, and we're just gonna say Merit HR because in fact, Merit HR is going to be hiring a software engineer to do some of their work, all right? So we want to just personalize it as much as possible. You want to put your company name in there. If you want to provide a little background on it, on the company, you can do that as well. We want to give instructions. So we want to include the job title, responsibilities, and I'm just looking over at my notes here as well, so I can make sure that I've got all this good information here. The required qualifications and preferred qualifications. This is another great one to include in here. Okay. Now, maybe the position is located in a specific spot. It might be located internationally or maybe here in the US somewhere. So we want to give it that kind of information as well. So this position is located in, let's say, just go for San Francisco. All right. And the level of hire, okay, so what level of hire are we looking for? How much experience are we looking for? Maybe we're also wanting to recruit from a specific school or something along those lines. As much of the granular detail we can give at this stage is great, sets the tone, and it helps ChatGTP get closer to that final solution. All right, so a senior engineer with, let's just say 8 years experience. Okay, so I'll just hit enter and let's see what ChatGTP 4.0 comes back with. So right here, we're getting this information. All right. And you can see that it's detailing out all the way to, as it's continuing to progress here, all the way to things like what type of software writing skills or tools does this person need to have? The programming language, what type of experience are we looking for? SQL, no SQL. So all of these pieces are relevant to the position, okay? And we can fine tune this a little bit further. So let's just say, please add a section on education requirements. Okay. And this is again where we're fine tuning. And that's why one of the breakthroughs that I had as I was thinking about this tool set, ChatGPT and generative AI, one of the breakthroughs that I had in my thinking was, this is someone new who's come onto my team. They don't have a lot of experience, and I want to give them direction and continue to fine tune that direction to get to my final output, my output of interest, okay? So now I have this breakout as it relates to education requirements. Then I might say, please also include a section on benefits eligibility, okay? And let's just see what it comes back with, because I haven't told ChatGPT anything about what benefits do we offer. And so what we might get back could actually be a question around what type of benefits, or it could be a general statement around benefits eligibility, which then I can help to fine tune, okay? And you'll notice it's continuing to write the full description as I'm doing this. And there we go. So now benefits eligibility. So these are pretty good generic benefits, right? Comprehensive health, dental, and vision, 401k, employee wellness program. Here's a spot where now I can slice and dice, if you will. I can decide what I want to include in the description or not include in the description, all right? And then I could also just say, and please close out the description. Close out the description with an EEO statement, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and do that. I went ahead and I left my spelling error in there as well, because again, the tool knows how to read through those things. It's actually a lot smarter than I am at times. So let's just go ahead and let's see what it comes up with here. Eligibility, and boom. So Merit HR is an equal opportunity employer. We celebrate diversity. We're committed to creating an inclusive environment for all employees, and all qualified applicants will receive consideration. The statement that all of us are very familiar with seeing on these types of descriptions. All right. So that's a simple example, I'll call it, in terms of how you can create a description, fine tune that description based on what the context is, some of the nuances you want to include in here. The EEO statement, as an example, just dropping it right on in. Now we have all of this information. And what's really sweet about this particular tool set now is that I have the ability to copy this content, and I can paste it right onto a Word document, for example. And that gives me the ability to fine tune and to refine it. It gives me the ability to start copy and pasting content segments into my job posting tool, for example. A lot of our clients utilize Paylocity as an example. And so I've used this where I can copy sections and paste it into the Paylocity section and just straight across. And now I have that description that I can work with. All right. So let me know, does this help? Is this beneficial? Is this the range? Yes, pay range. So I see the comment there about pay ranges. Can we add pay ranges? So yeah, we sure can. So let's do that real quick. Please add a section to outline the pay range for pay transparency, right? So we're going to, the pay range for this position. And we can say the high end is, let's say that it's $178,000, and the low end is, maybe it's down at $150,000. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll drop that in. It's going to drop now a pay section in here as well. And again, now we can fine tune and we can refine from there. Okay. All right. Any questions about that? Utilizing the tool to help us write and refine a job description. Okay. All right. I love it, Kathy. Yes, I'm with you as well. Melissa, it is great. And I love ChatGPT too. All right, awesome. So yeah, you guys can see pretty quickly how passionate we can get about this and how much fun we can have with it. In fact, I had one of the consultants on our team is working with a client, and they came to me with a question. They said, you know, what would the red lines be for doing background checks? And so first off, I wasn't quite sure what was meant by the term red lines. And they wanted to know, you know, doing background checks and what are the pros and cons. So watch what happens here. So literally, the consultant went to ChatGPT and said, what are the red lines for using or for conducting background checks? And the reason behind this was that the client, they're considering, do we have HR do background checks, or do we have managers do background checks? And if we have managers do background checks, what are the things that we want them to be considering? Okay. And so this was the question, and this was the answer that we got. All right. So very quickly, if I just go ahead and I'll just scroll on down here so we can see some of the details as it's typing this up. So what are some of the things that we really need to consider? All right, great. So red lines really have to do with what are those boundaries? All right. And if we're going to be in legal compliance, what does that look like? Make sure from an ethical standpoint, the background check is relevant, specific red lines, right? So this idea of steering clear of specific things that could cross the line and cause issue. All right. So again, if someone comes to you with a question and you're contemplating how can I best answer this, or you're looking for that additional perspective, this is a great spot. This is in here in ChatGPT is a great spot to be able to start prompting that thinking. Okay. Now, always, always, always is the case. And this is where our expertise comes in as HR practitioners and as legal counsel and, you know, every other perspective that's represented here in the room. Always know that it is our experience, our wisdom, the bumps and bruises that we've had along the way that really differentiate this content. And so when we look at this kind of information, we always need to put our best wisdom on it as well. All right. So if there's anyone out there that's concerned about, you know, if you have a client, for example, if you're a consultant and you're concerned about, well, you know, could the client just start going off and using ChatGPT? Sure, they could. And your differentiator is in your experience. The same thing if we're in-house HR and we're really thinking about how do we help our businesses move forward. And we saw some examples of that in our last session of how we can utilize the tool set to help us as HR practitioners enter into a higher level conversation, a strategic conversation, and help drive that strategy conversation as well for our businesses and our cultures. Okay. The other area that I wanted to just talk about briefly in this subject of talent acquisition and recruiting is around interview questions. And I started to just tap a little bit as it relates to references, but let's see what we can create around interview questions. And I'm going to do it also for that software engineer. So I'm going to reference back to that. So using the software engineer description that you previously gave me, this is a dialogue. Think of it as a dialogue. So those same topics that we've had in this particular string of dialogue, these are always accessible to us. All right. So I'm just going to say, using the software description that you previously gave me, please provide a list of 10 interview questions. All right. That can be used when meeting with candidates. And I'm going to say with candidates online. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of that extra element there because, again, there probably is not a lot of difference in terms of a Zoom interview and asking the questions there as there might be in person, but there might be some nuances. So let's just start with meeting online. So meeting with candidates online for this position. Okay. All right. You'll notice that I'm also very polite. Please give me, thank you. All right. All right. So here are 10 interview questions, and I've specifically linked it. Notice how it said, right there at the beginning, how it said the senior software engineer position at Merit HR. So it's very clear. It's talking about the description that it created. Okay. So again, now I've got some questions that I can start with. Technical expertise, problem solving, code proficiency, again, relevant to the position. All right. So you can get a feel here, just as I'm scrolling through, what some of these elements are. And you can also get a sense that, wow, these go a little bit deep. All right. These are some pretty nice behavior-based questions as well. And I didn't ask specifically for behavior-based, but how do you approach identifying and resolving performance and scalability issues? All right. So I'm asking questions that are going to help me dig even deeper into the capabilities for this particular candidate. All right. Future trends and continuous learning, also a fantastic question. So how do you stay up to date? What are the things that you do to continue learning and evolving your skill, evolving your capabilities? All right. So you'll notice that it's even given me, ChatGTP has even given me a little bit of, what's the intention behind these particular questions? All right. Now, let's ask this question. So let's ask it, are there any questions that you would change if this interview took place in person? Or maybe we ask the question, how would you shift these questions, or how would you change these questions if the interview was occurring in person? Let's see what it has to say. So how would you recommend changing these questions? Again, I'm going to leave the spelling error in there and just see what it does with it, okay? For an in-person interview. And let's just see what it has to say, all right? So, okay, so we can enhance these a little bit more to make them include more interactive elements, right? Because if I'm meeting with somebody in person, I might have a whiteboard available as well. And I actually might ask them to walk through step by step, what are your problem solving skills? Okay. And actually leverage the fact that we're in person. This person has technical capability. We might actually have them under code proficiency. And I think probably a lot of us have seen this done before, right? Where we have the code proficiency and we might give them a little problem to solve, a little algorithmic problem to solve. And we ask them to actually write the code up on the board, because we want to see that not only can they articulate it to us verbally, but they can visually lay it out, because coding is a very visual skill set, right? So isn't it beautiful? ChatGTP now has refined it around that very simple element and that distinction of being online versus being in person. Okay. So these are the kinds of things we want to be able to leverage. All right. And yep, Susan, great comment. It is a time saver, right? Let's see, Melissa, you asked, what was the prompt used to get the legal? Give me a little bit more on that. The legal piece, was that the EEO in the description? Just let me know in the chat if that's what you were talking about there. Okay. The legal for the background. Yep. No, that's fine. That's fine. So yeah, so the legal for the background, the prompt that I used for the legal for the background, it was, let me just scroll right back on up here again. Because yeah, this was an interesting one. This was the client was asking that question. The client used the term red lines. Okay. And so in that question, it just in itself, I actually needed to figure out what do they mean by red lines. So, so that right there, thankfully, this was one of those spots where, ChatGTP knew what red lines meant. That's awesome. And it turned out this was exactly what they were going after, was what are those lines? So here's the prompt. What are the red lines for conducting background checks? Very simple, really simple. Remember the persona we're working with, the persona of ChatGTP 4.0. The persona is that new college grad. So I want to start with those more simple instructions. And I mean, the truth is, right, we all overcomplicate it. We think, well, I give it all this nuance and everything, and I got to write the perfect prompt. I'm here to tell you, you don't have to write a perfect prompt. There is no such thing as a perfect prompt. Danica hit on it, in the introduction as we were just getting started, that a lot of this has to do with experimentation. And you will find for yourself, you will find What is that right tone? What is the right way to interact that works for you? That's how you want to be interacting with the tool. That's how you want to be leveraging it so that it really does become a big time saver for you. Okay. All right. So great. Thank you for that question. Yeah. So other keywords like that to use. Well, yeah. I mean, let's just say, keywords. So, guidelines, is another, right? So, give me guidelines, red lines. It happened to be that crossover point. So we could say, what are some topics to avoid when conducting background checks? Okay. And so now we're kind of giving it a more specific description of the term red line. Okay. So we can just put this in here and see what it comes back with. Okay. So topics to avoid when conducting background checks, right? Medical information, genetic information, et cetera, and it's going to give me a pretty nice long list here. I could actually, if I want to go ahead and pause that for a moment, I'm just going to go ahead and pause that. And, please give me the top 3, okay, topics to avoid, okay, or the highest risk topics to avoid, all right? And again, it's keeping the same theme. So I was talking about background checks. We want to be thinking about that, okay? So I didn't have to say the top 3 in background checks, I just am refining the conversation. It's a dialogue, okay? So these are the 3 that we can focus on. Definitely avoid these 3. And by focusing on these, Merit HR can avoid potential legal issues and ensure a fair and compliant hiring process, okay? So it's talking to us and we're talking with it, all right? Does that make sense? Awesome. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead. Any questions in this area? Any other questions in this area for talent acquisition? Is there a burning topic that anybody walked into this discussion with, or you're looking at it now and you're like, oh, if I only had an answer to X? Are there any burning questions like that? Because now's the time, and I can show you a prompt for it and get you started on that. Okay. All right. Okay. And if you think of one afterwards, as we're going to move on to our next topic, which is around performance management, if you think of one, just let me know and we'll zoom back to it. Okay. Yeah, great question, Noreen. Will our tone in the prompt be mirrored in the response? Yeah, I love that. Super polite, saying great and thank you, as opposed to being matter of fact. Generally, yes. And you can also really direct it. Okay. So what do I mean by that? Let's say, I've just asked it to give me, 3 topics to avoid. All right. And, what I might want to do here is, please be more specific and provide no more than 1 sentence per area. Okay, so I can just be like more direct, more specific. So I'm just going to say, please give me your response in a more direct and specific tone. All right, and let's just see how it fine tunes that. Okay, so it's going to give it much more precise, more facts. Okay, and now I'm getting crisper. Okay, so generally speaking, the responses you're going to be getting back are designed, and this is a bit of the generative AI world, they're going to be in a tone of helpfulness, because the way that the algorithms have been written in ChatGPT, it is designed to help, to be helpful, okay? And sometimes if you're asking it for input, or you really want it to criticize some content, it will adjust it. So let me give you an example on that. Let's talk about that job description, okay? And let's just say that, that job description that we originally wrote, that, we want it to provide a more critical tone, okay? So I'm just going to say, please rewrite the previous job description with a more critical tone. And again, the please rewrite, I'm putting that in there. I'll go ahead and get rid of that. You don't need to be polite. So I'm just going to ask it to rewrite it with a more critical tone. So that will shift it to, again, being more pointed, more direct, the way if you were to go back and compare the two, all right, you would see that a distinction in there. So I encourage you to work with it, work with the tool, and play around with tone, not the tone necessarily that you're writing in, but to tell it what tone you want. And we'll see a little bit of that as we move into performance management as well. All right. So let's see. Yep. Okay. So a complaint letter. Okay, great. So, the chat that's going on right now. Great. So a friend just received a complaint letter from the Cal OSHA pertaining to a violation of Title 8 CCR Section 3203 pertaining to employees drinking on the job. What would ChatGTP do to help write or provide some guidance? Okay. And so assuming that we're looking for guidance in terms of how to respond. Okay. So let's go ahead. I'm going to see if I can just copy this and we'll just drop it in here. Okay. And let's just say, all right, so I received a complaint letter pertaining to let's get rid of that. And let's just say, please write a response to, so I'm going to say, I'm going to have it as a response to Cal OSHA. Okay. Be precise in the response and keep the response short and to the point. Okay. All right, so that's what I'm going to go for. I'm just going to go for a little Cal OSHA. Please keep the response precise and to the point. Okay, so I'm putting a little bit of tone in there. All right, and now I just jumped to, I'm going to write a response to Cal OSHA. I'll come back in a moment and I'll ask the more broad question, what should I do? Okay, so first, let's just ask this question here about what kind of response should I write to Cal OSHA? Okay, so let's just kind of drop that in there real quick. Okay, and so now it's giving me this information here. I'm writing a response to the complaint letter. First and foremost, take it seriously, absolutely. Upon reviewing it, all right, this is what we've done, our investigation, okay? And in response to this incident, we've taken the following corrective actions, okay? So if you like, in the chat, let me just drop in there the prompt that I used, okay? And let me put the whole prompt in there real quick, all right? Because again, this is gonna be our real time, and I know your friend needs an answer in 14 days, as you mentioned, all right? So let's go ahead and let's just drop this in here. Okay, copy that. And I'll drop it in the chat and then you can grab it there. Okay. Okay, there we go. So this is a prompt that that your friend can use, okay, and can help fine tune. And then I'll comment on the voice dialogue here in just a moment because yes, you can. And I've used, you can see the response here in just a moment. I love this, it's interactive, thank you. So here's that whole response. Okay, I'll scroll on up here. Okay, so you can see the whole response here. So we're getting into the specific corrective action. So it's an acknowledgement of the receipt of it. It's a statement about our policy that we don't tolerate it. We took immediate action. The response to the incident, what actions we've taken, what we've reinforced, and our ongoing commitment. Okay. All right. And so in your own ChatGTP, you can drop in that prompt that I just put into the chat or Zoom chat. Okay. All right. Beautiful. Yes. So the question about using voice, if on your computer you do have voice in the voice recognition, the ability to do that, then yes, absolutely. I actually utilize it on my phone. So I have an iPhone and I have ChatGTP. I have the app on my iPhone. And literally you can have this as a dialogue, a conversation. Okay. And one of the things that's beautiful about it is that you can also then assign a voice to it. And so you're really having a conversation. And it's like, well, tell me a little bit more. And it will speak it back to you. Okay. So you're able to get out of the handwriting and the reading piece of it as well. And then there from out of the app, you can also then forward it onto yourself, or the string, you can have all of that. You can forward it onto yourself and get it over into a written format then as well. Okay. Currently, to the best of my knowledge, the app does not integrate completely where what I do on the app I can see in my my web browser version. I could be mistaken on that though. I just haven't tested it yet. So it's worth a check out. You can definitely do voice. I know when you're on your phone with the app, you can definitely do voice, and it is the same login information. So it may actually sync across. Wouldn't be surprised. Okay. All right. Now, we also had the question, it was a more generic question about what do I do with this particular scenario? Okay. And so it's a slightly different question. So I received a complaint, and rather than just jumping straight to a response, it's the question of what should I do? Okay. So what should I do next? And please keep it simple, right? Because it can be a little intimidating if you get a letter like that. Just try to sort through it. I've been on the Cal OSHA website, and it's really, really overwhelming. So let's just say, please keep it simple, and to the first 5 steps or something along those lines. Okay. So let's just see what it tells us I should do. All right. Great. Now here's my process, right? So first thing I've got to do, review it, make sure I understand the details of it, conduct the internal investigation, take immediate corrective action, prepare a response, and then implement the preventative measures. Okay. So if you think about it as I've got this situation, it's come to me. My first question is, what should I do? All right. My next question now is based on what it's told me I should do. My next question is, well, can you give me some examples of what to do? And that was the example that I gave you in actually writing the letter. All right. So if we look at step 4 here of what ChatGPT is giving me the instructions on what to do, preparing the response, that's where I took it and I generated what that response looks like. Okay. So hopefully that's helpful for you. A real-time example, and hopefully your friend, as you mentioned, she needs an answer in 14 days. So hopefully this will accelerate. So she has her answer in the next 24 hours, and then she has 13 days to take her time working through all the pieces. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's see. Anything else that's just popping up here? Any issues with erroneous information given? It's gotten a lot better. Hallucinations, they used to call them. And so it definitely has gotten a lot better. Paste the second prompt, please. You got it. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons around the hallucinations. That's actually one of the reasons that I wanted to really emphasize the point in that balanced approach that says, ChatGPT is going to give us some information. Ultimately, it's on us as the HR professionals and as the leaders in our field. It's on us to verify, validate, make sure that it is something that we are comfortable attaching our name and our reputation to. Okay. So in particular, if you start asking for some specific elements that you're responding to. I mean, we had Cal OSHA section, 3203. So, just as you're looking at something like that, if it was coming back and saying, and you can also reference Cal OSHA section, blah, 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 if it gives you something precise like that, then absolutely, I always encourage, you want to just do the double check, look up the Cal OSHA, look up that section, make sure that it makes logical sense. Okay. You can definitely have ChatGPT 4.0 or any generative AI for that matter work in creative ways. So remember, some people are writing books using these tools, and there can be a lot of creativity that goes along with that. So there's a lot of power in the tool. When we're dealing with specific elements, that's where our experience is so important. So always ask yourself that question with this response, with this information. Is this something now, the way that it is something that I would attach my name and my reputation to? And is this something that, again, remember what I said at the start of our conversation, does this get me 80% there? Because I've gone from blank sheet, or in this case, this example, I've gone from a complaint letter from Cal OSHA and 14 days to figure out what to do, okay, to some action or to some information, okay? Now, the next question is it the right information? Is it accurate? Is it going to move me into the place that I need to go to? And is it going to move my organization forward? Or is it going to help my client move forward? Or is it going to help my team learn more? Okay. So one of the things I wanted to do while we're here is that I wanted to give you a real quick example of how we can utilize ChatGTP to create a PowerPoint presentation. And then I'm going to jump over into performance management, and we'll do some questions in the space of performance management so we can dabble in that a little bit. Okay. All right. So when we are in ChatGTP, we can actually have it generate the content in a particular format. And PowerPoint is probably the most pertinent or relevant, okay? And so the way that we do that is that we just give it that simple instruction to generate the content in the form of PowerPoint, the output in the form of PowerPoint. So let me just give you a real quick example. So I just dropped a prompt in here. So my prompt is simply to create, I want to create a PowerPoint presentation, okay? So let's just go here. We're going to create a PowerPoint presentation on the topic of artificial intelligence in healthcare. And the presentation needs to include these present slides. All right. So by the way, a little keystroke, if you're working in ChatGTP and you just want to put a carriage return in and not hit enter, right? Sometimes I'll just hit enter and boom, you know, it gets ahead of me. So if you just go shift return, okay, or shift enter, that'll enter the carriage return for you. Okay, so we want to do a title slide here, you know, and this is going to be, you know, the power of ChatGTP. We'll just say here, presenter is Diana Willis. Title is CEO of the Pendolino Group. Okay, so I'm just going to put that in there. All right, so it knows that information to put on the title slide. I want an introduction slide that gives an overview of AI in healthcare, the application. So give me a few key areas where it is. Okay, so think about what is every PowerPoint? It's an outline, right? So every presentation PowerPoint is an outline, and you have your titles, you have what sections, the sections you want to talk to. You may have some sub bullets that are associated with each one of these as well. Okay. And I'll drop this prompt into the chat as well. Hopefully it'll be able to hold all of it. And you'll notice what I've also included in this prompt is that each slide should have a title, 3 to 5 bullet points, because I want some sub-content, and relevant images or graphics. So that is one of the things that has to do with ChatGTP 4.0 is that we can start, you know, bringing in some relative visuals. Or relevant visuals in here as well, right? Or at a minimum, have it tell us what type of visual. Now, to generate it quickly, I'm going to go ahead and take those visuals out. All right. And let's go ahead and we're going to run this puppy real quick. And let's just see what comes up. I probably just aged myself by saying run this puppy. So here we go. So now it's giving us all of this information and it's put it into this structure. Okay. All right. And so from here, we might say, okay, well, great. You know, now I can copy and paste this content, right? You know, the conclusion and all of that information. All right. So this is one way. Now, if I have a PowerPoint template that I utilize, it's got its own colors and formats and things like that. ChatGTP 4.0 at the moment is not able to consume that and be able to merge them. Okay. I was working with just doing a presentation with Microsoft the other day, and you know they've got a very unique template that they're utilizing. So we're playing around with it a little bit, and we can't get the content quite yet. The coding's not there just yet. Okay. However, I can generate an output in a PowerPoint, a generic PowerPoint. This output into a PowerPoint presentation. file. Okay, and I'm going to go, actually, let me just do it this way, .ppt. Okay. All right, so let's just go ahead and have it do that. And so now it's analyzing all of that content. All right, and give it a moment. It's kind of figuring out what it wants to put where, doing its part. All right. So you'll notice that's one of the reasons I wanted to take the images out, because it does take a little bit longer on this piece. And then ultimately what we're going to end up with is the PowerPoint file itself. Okay, so we'll give it a moment to work on that. And while it's doing that, let's just see what kind of questions are on this puppy. Yeah, thanks, Kathy. Appreciate that. All right. So, yeah, so I am going to go ahead. I'm going to put that, definitely put that in the chat for you so you can see it. So here we go. So AI in healthcare presentation, PowerPoint format. All right. And if I just pop that open, I'm going to be able, let's see, am I sharing that part of my screen? I think I might need to share that part of my screen here. Let's see. Trust me, when I click on it, it's going to open a PowerPoint form, an actual file. Okay. And I know you're dying to see it. So let me go ahead and I'm going to reshare my screen here. So I should be able to do everything here. Is that right? Let me see, I may not be able to. Let me go ahead and I'll just open up the file and then reshare from there. Okay. All right, so go ahead and do that. So if I just open up that file, it'll pop open here and I can download it. Not sure if you're able to see it here or not. Let me go ahead and just confirm. So I'm going to go ahead and open it. Here we go. And so here's the PowerPoint that it created. So the PowerPoint of ChatGPT, yeah, the power of ChatGPT, I changed the title a little bit there, but as we start just rolling through now, an overview. And again, now it's in a PowerPoint. I can muck around, there's another term. I can muck around with the formatting. I can drop images in there. I can do all of these pieces. So I've gone from ChatGPT and the prompt to generating like that, a PowerPoint presentation that now I can refine all of that. Literally, when we talk about time savers, that is one that has been a huge time saver for me. It's given me the ability to go from concepts and ideas into a PowerPoint that is then maybe an hour to refine format and structure and images to be able to then deliver something that might have taken me, I don't know, a day, 8 hours worth to do. I've now been able to do that inside of an hour. Huge. That is a huge time saver. So I highly encourage that you do it. And let me drop the prompt in here real quick. All right. So you can have this, and I will refine this as well in the chat. You can grab it here. Okay. And yes, there are other programs other than ChatGPT. Darn it, it's a little too long to drop in here. So let me just hover on this page for a moment. So you can, if you want to do a screenshot or anything along those lines, I'll answer that question. There are other tools that include Cloud AI, Bard from Google. There's another one I'm just going blank on at the moment. Copilot is also one that you can start working with as well. So there are absolutely other tools. I happen to use ChatGPT. I'm familiar with it. I have the ability to do file comparisons. In fact, I'll do a file comparison here in a moment. We'll go into performance management. I want to show you a couple of prompts in the performance management space. And, you know, and you can do it with Excel files. You can ask it quite literally. If you use, I'll give you the prompt here real quick for comparing Excel files. So let me drop that into the chat here as well. Okay. Yep. Gamma is another one that can create PowerPoint presentations. If you want to compare, you know, the two, I'm just going to say the two Excel files provided. I'm putting this into the chat for Zoom here. Provided and generate a report highlighting the differences, and you might say the comparison should include differences in sheet names, with data within the same sheets, summary of changes. Okay, so you'll get the idea. So here's a prompt that you can utilize. It's here in the Zoom chat. So you can compare the two Excel files provided and generate a report, right? So you can do that right here inside of ChatGPT. And this is, of course, our paperclip, the universal sign for attaching files, okay? So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a sense there. Let's go into performance management. All right. So let's just go here real quick. What is performance management? And you can tell, I mean, there's so much we can do in here. So I'm not even sure if we're going to get through everything that I had planned. But I just want to, out of curiosity, what is ChatGPT think performance management is? So a systematic process by which organizations involves its employees, et cetera, et cetera. Guess what? I can actually ask it to generate this input and turn it into a PowerPoint presentation for me real quick if I need to go train some people on what is performance management. Okay. And remember, the prompt for doing that is, please share this response in .ppt format. Because, now that I have this is pretty cool. I want to go and I just want to have a quick training session. I'll drop that prompt into the chat as well. And so I want to have a quick training session. And so, I just got a great summary overview of, what is performance management. Okay. So you can be really creative and really fast with this type of work. All right. Okay. All right. So, yep. So there's the PPT prompt in the chat. You got it. All right. Can you only use MS applications? No, you can use Google applications as well. So if it's Sheets or Notes or anything along those lines, Apple products as well. So you can use those as well. What you're doing is, if you give it that extension, that will pretty quickly tell it where to go. Okay. And then, yeah, so a great question or great point, Melissa. If you don't currently have the ability to directly create the files, copy and paste it in. All right. Before I spent, what is it, $20 a month, and you can see already how it will save you time. Okay, and time is money. Okay, so when you create stuff, if you're not using 4.0, all right, then copy and paste it into Word docs, copy and paste it into PowerPoint, copy and paste it into Sheets, copy and paste it into whatever tool you're using or whatever delivery mechanism you're utilizing it. Okay, so you don't have to have the paid version. I strongly recommend it because, again, it has been a huge time saver for myself and for my entire team. So I just strongly recommend going for it. Now, the other things that you can do is that you can actually, you'll notice a few more things here. If you get a response and you're like, yeah, that one really was lousy, you can tell it lousy. If you want it to regenerate a response because you want it to refine it on its own, okay, you can have it regenerate that response as well. And if you want to read it, have it read out loud, you can also have it read out loud. Okay, let's go ahead and let's move into the world of performance management. And I want to do let me jump forward here. I'm going to go to designing a performance review template. Okay, so let's design a performance review template. And this is going to be for a mid-level marketing manager. All right. And there are likely going to be some specific areas that you want to get this feedback or you want to be capturing information in. So the template should include, let's see, we're going to give it sections for self-assessment, okay, manager feedback, goal setting, all right, that's another big one, and professional development, okay. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and let's just have it give us that information here. And yep, so it's now giving us this template. Isn't this beautiful? So we've got the review period here. And I can tell you that some of these prompts I haven't run before. So I'm equally thrilled when I see these results. That's what this experience is in terms of the learning and the creativity. Okay. So literally I've got a template here that I can utilize, and let's do a little fun thing here. So this is areas for improvement, the whole 9 yards. Let's go ahead and just say, please give me this response in .doc format. Okay, and let's just see what it has to say. All right, so there it is. It's analyzing again. All right, and let me go ahead and I'll drop that into our chat. Okay. Okay, and we'll just drop it all in there. There we go. Okay. All right. Here we go. Awesome. All right. So it's doing its part here, and it's going to go ahead and it'll crank it out. It'll drop it into a .doc format. It's going to be right inside of a Word document. And as a result of having it in a Word document, well, what can we now do? Now we can turn around, we can edit it, refine it in Word, and boom, then we can actually communicate it out. So we've gone from question to now I've got a Word doc template, performance review template inside of, what did that take us? 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. All right. Huge, really, really powerful and helpful. Okay. All right. Is that helpful? Is that giving you some ideas? Is that giving you, or is your head starting to swim? Where is everyone at now? And do you have any specific items in the world of performance management? Because, you know, in performance management, there's also giving feedback. All right. And one of the questions we were talking about, Melissa, thank you. One of the questions that we were talking about is, you know, can we refine the tone? And in the world of feedback, giving the tone is also really important. Okay. So, so let's just say, I have an employee who has missed their deadlines for the past 2 weeks. Okay. And we're just going to say it's missed their project deadlines. All right. Please give me some feedback to share with the employee about this issue. Okay. All right. And I'm just going to let it generate for a moment, and then I'm going to ask it to be much, much more critical in its response. Okay. So I have an employee, missed feedback, kind of put it into this format that I can utilize pretty quickly. Hope this finds you well. It's kind of a nice way of saying this. Okay, I want to take some time to discuss this issue, impact on the team, understanding the reasons, like to understand, support and resources. It sounds a little bit like a performance improvement plan, doesn't it? Now I want to take a much more, please put this in a more critical and urgent tone. Okay. All right. So let's see what it has to say now. Okay. All right. I do need to address an urgent and serious issue. So you can see how the tone has shifted like that. Okay. Over the past 2 weeks, consistently issue, negative impact, immediate clarification needed, expectations and accountability. So we've been able to shift it from a much more friendly tone to, we've got an issue, this needs to be addressed, here's how we're going to go about doing it. Okay. All right. So again, you've seen in the example of the job description how we can refine content, how we can add things. Same thing here. We've shifted what our tone is, how our information is coming across. We've got some great content. We've got a format that we can work with. We've got this format again. We can copy and paste this over into a Word document if we want to do that. You saw already how we can take it. We can actually have ChatGPT generate it as a Word document, take it straight into that format as well. All right. Okay. So let's see. An example of a summary of takeaways for participation data in an EAP. An example of summary takeaways for participation data in an EAP. So that's just such a great question and general in and of itself. So let's go ahead and let's do this. And then the prompt, the performance management prompt. So yes, I will drop that into the chat as well. All right. So, oh, Jay, your question, do I have any test spreadsheets with various people to practice with? I don't. I am sorry. I don't have any spreadsheets with people data to practice with. I will show you a demonstration of practicing with a couple of resumes, and with those resumes being able to do a comparison of the skill sets. So hopefully that'll just give you an example of how you can do a prompt for comparison purposes and attach the files, okay? So hopefully, Jay, that'll kind of leap you forward in terms of the spreadsheets.
Hey, Diana, just a reminder, we got about 20 minutes left. So
awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right. Beautiful. So let's go ahead and let's take a quick look at this question about data in an EAP. And I'll tell you what I want to do. Ruby, I want to take your specific question here and drop it straight in. And let's just see what it comes back with. And Kathy, your question, yes, ChatGPT is compatible with Excel spreadsheets. So that was the comparison. I think I might have dropped it into the chat in our Zoom as well, of a prompt that you can utilize for actually doing comparisons on spreadsheets. You can export content into Excel as well. Here's the prompt again. I'll just drop it in the chat for doing some comparisons across Excel spreadsheets, so you can see that real quick here. All right. All right. So we have our answer coming here for Jay, I think it was, or if I got it wrong, who asked the question about the EAP? Ruby, you asked the question. So this is the response back in terms of that question that you asked. And literally, I took your question straight out of the chat. So a summary of takeaways for EAP participation data. Okay. So these are the kinds of things that it's telling us to do. Now, if you have your EAP data and it's in an Excel spreadsheet format, okay, quite literally what you could do is, please give me a summary overview of the participant data in this EAP spreadsheet, in this spreadsheet for our EAP program. Okay, so you can literally do that prompt, attach the file. Okay, so if you have it on your computer or it's in Google Drive, wherever it's at, you can just attach the file to this prompt. Okay, and then by attaching the file to the prompt, the output you're going to get is a summary overview of the data in that Excel spreadsheet. Okay, and I'll drop that prompt also here and here. So you've got that, Ruby, and all you would do is just simply attach the file. Let me give you a quick example of attaching the files here. So I'm going to say, please give me a summary. I'm going to do a slightly different one here, comparison of these three, I'll make it 3 candidates, okay, or 3 employees, and highlight their skills. And quickly tell me who will make the best project lead for our software implementation project. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to, I'm also going to give it a little bit of scope here. So I'm going to say, please keep the comparison to no more than one, let's do it this way, 3 sentences per employee. So we just kind of keep the response contained for our purposes here. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and attach 3 files here I've got on my computer. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab those real quick and give me a moment. Okay. All right. Grab these 3 files here. Come on. Give me a moment. I didn't have them in an easy spot to find, so just grab them here. Okay. Oops. 1 second. Bear with me.
While you're working on attaching those, we do have a question on privacy concerns when you're uploading company data into Chat GPT. And then also, just last week, the regulators started coming for us in HR and Chat GPT with a Colorado ruling on using a Colorado law got signed in on using Chat GPT in selection and hiring or any generative AI. So if you're in that state, you might take a look because I think it'll be promulgated quickly through the country.
Yes, I think that's very true. And, and I mean, for all intents and purposes, there's no reason that you would want to hide it, that you're in fact utilizing the tool. So yeah, I would encourage, be transparent about it. Be transparent that in fact you do use the tool to help you in guiding. And again, reemphasize the EEO statement. Okay. So always staying true and clean to that. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Let's just see if I can do there. There we go. All right. So I've got a couple of files that are uploading here now that you can see. All right. So we'll just get those uploaded and I'm going to go ahead and hit the prompt here. All right. Okay. All right. So this is my prompt. Again, I'll drop this into the chat. So you've got this as well. This works if you're doing a comparison of candidates, if you're doing a comparison of employees, for any talent review, anything like that you're doing internally. So I've got this information here for each person. Just a quick high-level summary of their skills, experience, and a summary of their background. So I've got Jan, Jeanette, and Ben, and I'm doing that comparison on. And remember that I asked for ChatGPT to give me a recommendation. And again, that recommendation is coming across based on the skills that are in their resume. Now, I may have knowledge of other skills, other capabilities that they have by virtue of the interview or by virtue of working with these individuals. I may have additional knowledge that doesn't show up on their resumes, okay? And that's to that point about ensuring that as you're utilizing these tools, you're being transparent about utilizing these tools. We talked a little bit about that in our first live session. We were talking about the importance of transparency on this. So it builds trust and people understand how the tools are being utilized in a favorable way. Okay. And so we have our recommendation here as well on which candidate or which one of these employees, in this case, I should actually consider from ChatGPT's perspective. Okay. And that's for a technology project software implementation. Okay. So always err. I would definitely say, err on that side of communicating the utilization of the tool. The question about, DEI testing. Okay. So has there been any explicit DEI testing on the tool and the responses that you get? I don't know if there's been explicit testing on it, but I do know that there are biases built into any and all of the tools that we use. So it's definitely an area as you're looking at it to ensure that you're applying your own filters on it. Okay. The aspect of learned inadvertently that male candidates might be better than female candidates. Again, this is where our experience and our wisdom, our filter, our own ability to look at this content and to be able to say, yes, the content and the assessment, in this case from ChatGPT, has this information. It leans in this direction based on the information I've given it. okay? And I can also say that if I were to say, okay, you know, our preference is to put a female in this role, please let me know whether Jan or Jeanette would be best. Okay, so and I apologize again for my misspellings here. And so I'm going to have it filter in specifically around Jeanette and Jan. Okay, and so it's giving me those perspectives again, and now it's fine tuning and looking at based on that. Jan has a stronger background. I can tell you from my own experience with Jan and Jeanette that this is absolutely the right answer. That both of them have strong project management skills, but the one who has more of the tech orientation and has the ability to drive results is Jan. So again, that's my experience overlaid on top of what the tool has done in terms of the information that I've given it. Okay. And again, that's one of the other reasons that we have the transparency requirements that are coming out also. Okay. So we always want to put our human element on top of this. Okay. The question about the confidentiality of information and, you know, putting that information out there, company confidential information. This is a public forum, meaning that if I put never should HIPAA-related data, should private information be put in here. Never should any of that content be put in here. Company confidential information should not be put into here. ChatGPT and some of the other tools that are out there do provide a private enterprise environment. And those private enterprise environments are worth considering if, in fact, you want to take very real data. So if we go back to the question about comparing an Excel spreadsheet that has personnel data in it, scrub that data. In other words, don't put social security numbers in there and put an employee ID number rather than the name of the employee in there. Okay. So that would be a very powerful utilization of the tool, recognizing that, and again, this is from an HR practitioner's perspective, you know, never in those contexts should we be putting private information in here or personal identifiable information in here. Okay. But you can still absolutely leverage the tool and the power of the tool in its current format to be able to do the work that you want to do. Okay, so hopefully that helps answer that. If you have 10 resumes and they are all males, then you need to go back. That's a good point, Jay. Okay, and so yeah, you know, so you know, definitely, you know, there are things. Let's see, an analysis of DIA data. Yes, we can. You're absolutely right, Kathy. We can do an analysis. We can prompt ChatGPT to do an analysis of the DEI data as well. Absolutely, that's, you know, that's one of the powerful pieces. Again, just anchoring back and kind of wrapping on this, the persona that we're working with, the generative AI tool persona, and in this case, ChatGPT, that persona is a new college grad that has access to all of that information that's out there, who's super eager to be able to analyze information, who really wants to give you some good content back, and you're giving them the content and the tools and the pointers to be able to do that work for you. Okay, and you've seen some examples of how we can do that in performance management, talent acquisition, and some examples of how we can even have that persona generate analysis of content and provide us with meaningful results. Again, getting us from 0 to, I'll call it the 80%, because that remaining piece is the piece that is the value we bring, okay, as the practitioners, okay, as the professionals. It's the value that we bring. And so then the very last one was around salary benchmarking. So again, salary benchmarking, this is a spot where we can say, okay, you know, can you give me a comparison of salaries? If I'm looking at, kind of starts to get into the DEI world a little bit, affirmative action, right, in those spaces. So can you give me an analysis of these salaries and, you know, help me identify patterns? Okay, so that's another example where you can ask that question, you know, please provide an analysis of this salary data for our team and provide provide the trends and, and let's see even potential gaps in the data. Okay, so you can ask a question like that. I'll drop that into the chat. Okay, and take one of your files that has employee data, scrub it so you've got employee ID numbers rather than actual names in there. Okay, make sure you don't have social numbers or anything along those lines, and drop this prompt into ChatGTP. Attach your salary file that has your employees, it has their titles, it has their salary current position. It's got all of that information, position and range it probably has. It has all of that information in there, and let ChatGTP run an analysis for you and give you its assessment of what's there. Now, always remembering, in the world of compensation in particular, compensation, for those of you who are comp and Benny experts, compensation is part science and part art, right? And so the science component, ChatGTP or any other generative AI tool can help in that realm. The art comes in with the experience and knowledge that you bring to the table in terms of how you navigate people through ranges, how you kind of manage where there may be some salary compression that's happening in the organization, those types of elements. Okay, so we've utilized for our teams and for our clients quite often, we actually utilize this type of prompt that I just put here as a starting point for looking at an Excel spreadsheet that's got a ton of data in it, and we want to just identify, or there's some trends, or there's some themes that are in here, or there's some, the titling work, right? And so this is a spot where I highly encourage you to use it again to jumpstart. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, Jennifer, great question. Should we be de-identifying data in the resumes? Yeah, I mean, that's a great way to do it. It's a great way to be able to overcome on the front end, overcome where some biases might be in there around names and addresses, that type of thing. Because you're really, the intention is that you're looking at the skills, the capabilities, whatever's been put on that resume. That's really what you want to be starting at. Okay. Jay, will ChatGTP generate a regression line? Great question. I don't know. I haven't tried that yet. But I can guarantee you after our call, I'll probably go try it. And I would encourage you to try it. So, so the way that you can do it, again, it's going to be a simple prompt. Please provide a regression analysis for this data. Okay. Whatever you're presenting to it. Okay, so regression analysis, generate, right? And please give the results in .xls format. Okay, or maybe you wanted to drop it into a chart in a PowerPoint. Okay, so again, same thing. You could also say, please give the results in a chart within a chart format within a .ppt file. Okay, so again, these are just go with these prompts, try these prompts out, and you'll be learning and refining along the way. Okay, all right. We have time for just one more, and so I just want to open it up and see if anybody's got one that's a burning desire while we're here. Okay. All right. What do we got? Thank you, Jay. Appreciate that. I have fun. I can tell you do too. All right. Let's see. Anything burning? Let's see. Let's ask this question real quick. Let's stay in the world of benefits. Design a comprehensive benefits package. And then, Naomi, I will be done for employees at a startup company. Okay, include healthcare, retirement plans, paid time off, and any unique benefits that could help attract top talent. I mean, that's a lot of what we also do in the world of benefits, right? Is that we want to attract top talent. We want to be able to retain our great talent, and we leverage benefits often to do that. So let's just see what it has to say around this one. Okay. Whoops, I hit my stop button there. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. So let me just grab that real quick. And let's go ahead and let that go. And I'll drop that prompt here into the chat as well for anybody that wants to play around with it. Again, you can refine it from there. And so let's see what we've got. Yep. So it's giving us, here we go. All right. Comprehensive medical, HMO, PPOs, dental, full coverage, telemedicine services. There we go. Wellness programs, mental health support. All right. Yeah, 401k. I want to attract, so I've got my safe harbor in there. I've got my match. I've got immediate vesting. That's a big differentiator. Roth 401k option. Those are more and more. And then flexible PTO policy, right? So a flexible vacation policy, more and more common. We're actually seeing, we're probably up to about 60% of our clients are using flexible time off programs now. They absolutely love them and have made the switch beautifully. Paid parental leave, unique benefits, work-life balance. I mean, it just goes on and on. Okay. Flexible time off, just so everybody knows, if you haven't seen it before, is this concept of the unlimited paid time off. It's got great financial benefit to the company, as well as it gives a greater degree of flexibility to the employees and managers to really just manage around the business needs and the employees' needs. Yeah, pet friendly. Well, most of us work from home now, so pet friendly offices. So we allow dogs in the kitchen, and yeah, gym membership. So here you go. So this is a nice starting point. So if you're looking to create a program, this is a really nice overview of the types of things that we might consider putting in there. All right. So with that, yes, that list is thorough, Kathy. I'm with you. And so awesome. Yeah, next time we'll do a internal versus market analysis of salary and compensation. Naomi, let me go ahead and I'll turn it back to you, or Danica, whoever wants to bring it on home.
All right, we're going to get our screen up.
Very good. Well, Diana, you always amaze, my friend, and have been exploring what's next before most of us even know what is. So thank you for sharing your wisdom and your enthusiasm. If you want other people or need help just like Diana, please check out the Pendolino Group. They are phenomenal business consultants and with deep expertise in HR. If they can't help you, they will know who can. So please check out Pendolino Group. And again, Diana, thank you so much. You've given us so much of your time to help our profession just evolve. And for that, we are ever grateful. We have some upcoming events, which is June 12th, the next of these programs, what's new in leadership succession strategies now that we're all working from home and we don't onboard, you don't see people, what's going on in that space. And then August 14th, whether you think Gen Z is awesome or not, they are the future of our workforces and they are a little bit different. So we have an exciting program. She is a psychologist who specializes in Gen Z and joining us for how that interacts in the workplace. And then an upcoming social. Yes, we had a great one last week in Palo Alto. And the next one is July 17th in Pleasant Hill. And if you'd like to provide us feedback, we get our ideas from you. We are crowdsourcing, to use another old term. So please share your thoughts. And we, of course, share all feedback with Diana. I think that is it. ChatGPT has replaced probably the first 5 years of my own personal HR career. And boy, howdy, what could we have accomplished with that kind of a leap? And that's what it's going to do. It's accelerating us as professionals, and it is science and art. You are still the expert, as Diana said. And lastly, try it. Everything Diana was doing, there are no classes on this. She is self-taught expert because she tried it and experimented. You can't break it, just play with it. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Have a fabulous rest of your day, and we will see you next time.
Thanks so much, everyone. Thank you, Merit HR.
Thank you, Diana.
Thanks, Diana.